All right, here we go. Today I want to talk about super fans, the power of fans on brands. I don't know, all of that stuff regarding fans. You know, just came out with an article that they did that said Hollywood uses books and comic books to test out their markets for stories, and they like to get stories from comic books and books. And I know that is the reason why I did Florida LitCon this year, and I've seen it, and it just seems like such an overwhelming plus. There doesn't seem like there's any negatives to it. It's like, you know, you got this built-in audience. Like, you take an artist, a book that sold 1,000 copies or just got good reviews. You know, now you got 1,000 people who are already going to support your product. Then, you know, you take in there that you have people that don't read that might be interested in it. Man, you're there, you know. So that just gives you an extra push. I know for me, I did it the other way around. I wrote my movie, Gold Digger Killer, into a book. And it did very well. And then what happened was I was expecting to make more movies at around the time that I made my first movie. And it didn't really happen that fast. Took me, man, seems like it's 20 years, right? Close to 15 years before I got back on the set of one of my own productions. But the screenplays that I wrote after I made my second movie, I started turning those into books because I was just concerned that, hey, I got all these good stories and nobody's going to get to enjoy them, because if I'm not able to make movies from them, it's just idle thought. They're just sitting up there waiting for something to happen. So I started writing them into books and comic books, and thus, you know, I have all these products that were originally screenplays that are now in books and comic books. And now I'm able to pitch them as a book, as a comic book, and say, hey, this would make a good movie. And guess what? I already have the screenplay for it. Now, that sounds good, no question. I'm definitely slated to make my own adaptation of my book, It Happened on Negro Mountain. No doubt. Next year, that's really one of my goals, and I think it'll be one of my biggest adaptations or biggest films to catapult me to theaters, right? That's the end goal. What's your business plan? What's your model? That's my model, right? All that well and good, but guess what? I was looking at this Walter Mosley article, and it really is not about Walter Mosley that I'm talking, but he talked about how he got fired, not fired, he might have gotten fired and quit before he got fired from Star Trek Discovery, or what they are guessing is Star Trek Discovery, or maybe the Picard show, right? The new TV show they're going to do on Jean-Luc Picard, right? And then they describe the meeting room or the writer's room, you know, 2 of 2, 2 of this, 2 of that. And I started to think, man, the reason why they have 2 blacks, 2 a Native American, a Latinx, and if they're calling them Latinx, that's definitely a forward-thinking term, you know, not Latino, because you don't want to do masculine. You want to say Latinx, not Latinas, Latino, Latinx. So that gives you, you know, gender-free, right? So if you got something like that already brewing, now you're thinking forward in terms of it's not just story, because something like Star Trek has always been thinking of multiculturalism from the beginning, right? they started billing everybody from their culture. They didn't speak like white Americans. Scotty spoke with his accent. You know, Bones spoke with his accent. And Kirk was the white American. Then you had Uhura, you had a Japanese guy. Gosh, I can't remember. Yeah, I'm drawing a blank. But then you had all these ethnicities. So Star Trek has always been thinking about that. But for them to bring those in as writers is saying, yo, we got to respond to the media and the social media out here and the fans. And, you know, I'm just start thinking of fans in general. Fans can be good and then they can be bad. And so as much as we like to say, oh, let's get a book or a comic book, you might be careful, might need to be careful of some of these super fans. Marvel fans have been really cool in the sense that, you know, they've rolled with whatever they wanted to do in film with some minor disagreement, like with Miss Marvel. There's some minor disagreement with that, but they haven't just divorced like Star Trek fans have. I've got Star Trek fans that just say Star Trek Discovery isn't Star Trek. You know, they put their foot down and just say it ain't Star Trek. So what it means is they don't even feel compelled to support it. And if that's the case, and your fans aren't, you know, the story fans aren't going to support the project, then what is the purpose of even making the project in the first place? Just change everything around and make it an original story and launch a new brand and possibly win over some of those fans, you know, win back some of those fans, because they may just not like it because it's Star Trek, but they may like it if it is, you know, Serenity or Starship Troopers or Battlestar Galactica or, you know, something other than Star Trek. But they just get so, oh, this is not Star Trek. Star Trek was this, Star Trek is that. And you have so much historical context and past to be concerned with that it can just kill your project. You know what I'm saying? This is not the way he would behave. Or this is not, you know, this is not something that they would do. The ship would never do this. And it's more than just getting the character Rue correct like they did in Hunger Games. They had the correct Rue, but they still got it wrong. You know, I mean, still had faced some backlash because people couldn't read the character description. So I don't know. I love fans. I just think super fans can be something counter. There might not even be a way to solve them because they just sometimes feel an ownership over a project. They don't want it to grow. They don't even want other people to like it. You understand? They want to be the only ones that like it. So if you attempt to expand on the audience, they don't even want to say, welcome to my house. They don't even want to say, you know, see, this is what I've been telling you was good. They don't even want other people to join in on it. They want it to be some nostalgic embrace, because some of what I've seen from the Star Trek fans is, yeah, not too many people was happy with the direction that Discovery went in the beginning. It faced backlash from having a black female captain lead, or at least what appeared to be a black female captain lead, and then it went down a military route that was not a full story in the Star Trek universe. And then there's other objections that I'm not even getting, you know, able to mention, or not, you know, even getting right, because I don't really care. You know what I'm saying? To me, it is a different variation. You've had at least 5 different variations of Star Trek. You had the one with William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy, the first TV show produced by Lucille Ball. Then you had the Next Generation, you had Voyager, you had Deep Space Nine. Then you had those 4, whatever the cartoon, if you want to include the cartoon in there, those were superhero action figure Star Trek people, okay? And then you had Voyager, the first movie, which was boring, and you know, it might fit the Star Trek scientific energy, but it did not have the humor that Leonard Nimoy and William Shatner had. They didn't get that right until Wrath of Khan. And so Wrath of Khan started to introduce more of a war element to it. And this is all just me. Star Trek fans don't agree with each other, so I wouldn't even expect them to agree with me, right? But so then you had a different trajectory, right, going off in the film. And now you had this reboot. So where I'm at, you know, we're at, what, 7 different versions of Star Trek, or 7 different elements of Star Trek. None of the movies really sent them out to explore. So that mission that William Shatner had in the Enterprise is gone. You know, they stopped exploring from the TV show. None of the movies really sent them on an exploration, you know. They reference, oh, they're exploring, but they usually come in contact with some military element. Now, in the reboot, yeah, it was good, but I like it probably, you know, next to Wrath of Khan. I love the new reboots. People didn't like it. They didn't explore. They maintained the humor. What else? What else is in there that I think people had a problem? But again, it's military and it's time travel. So they reset the timeline, which I thought was brilliant in terms of being able to introduce old characters with new twists on them. So I love the way they did that. But yeah, people are complaining about that. You understand what I'm saying? So I don't know. And then this Discovery comes in. The people who are behind Star Trek probably have no idea what to do, because these people who are what do you call it? Behind Star Trek, it's like, yo, we did the military. We want to maintain some, you know, people thought it was too humorous, you know what I'm saying? So we dropped the humor, and now they don't like us, you know? So it's all over the place. And I just think that's crazy for fans. I think it's wild for a brand to kind of have to deal with all of that. You know, I don't think it is totally like making all your characters white. You understand what I'm saying? I don't think that's the problem. But, you know, I think you have to be respectful of your fans, but sometimes there's no way to please them all. And, you know, new movies, original stories don't have that burden that if they don't please the fans, they're going to not please a group of people. Original stories, they don't have no fans. So there you have it, you know. Now, if you bring in a writer who has a fan base, then you still may not, oh, this is not Stephen King's best work, or he doesn't really work for, so there's going to be something. I still think 99% of the time, building on an existing brand is the best. I think there's so many pluses to it. However, I do think with Star Trek and I don't know, maybe a few others, it may be a little bit of a backlash. Because I don't even think Doctor Who would have that much backlash, because those people are just out for fun. They already know what they're watching is hyper realistic, so they're open for whatever. Anyway, that's it. That's all I wanted to talk about. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.